Hello, good evening everyone. This is a discussion on posterior interosseous nerve entrapment. In continuation with the elbow pathologies, I am Dr. Madan Pandian from India. These are my references, the most recent one being the ultrasonographic findings of the posterior interosseous nerve in ultrasonography 2017. There are other very recent references at your disposal. A brief anatomy about the posterior interosseous nerve. It basically pierces the supinator and exactly divides it into two heads, supinator superficial head and a deep head. The radial nerve injury occurs when there is a spiral groove fracture. There is an anterolateral course of the of the radial nerve under the brachioradialis. Then it divides into sensory and motor branches. The posterior interosseous nerve actually supplies the extensors and the supinator. These are the causes of the nerve compression. There could be an extrinsic or an intrinsic compression. There could be a displacement or traction of the nerve, fibrous bands, anomalous muscles, osseous deformities, ganglia, lipoma, fracture of the radial head, and Monteggia fracture. What are the predisposing factors? A long-term external compression, overuse syndrome, trauma, and one important thing to notice, there is a 0.7% incidence of all the forearm related pains. These are the clinical manifestations. Weakness in the extension of the fingers. There is no wrist drop, atrophy of the forearm muscles, lateral elbow pain, and proximal forearm pain. There is a radial nerve compression at the proximal edge of the S1, that is the superficial head of supinator, which is called the arcade of Froese. And then there is a loss of fascicular pattern, hyperemia, and thickening on ultrasonographic examination. What is an arcade of Froese? It could be tendinous, muscular tendinous, and membranous. The most common cause of compression being a tendinous arcade of Froese, which is accounting for around 64%. Compression by the arcade can be aggravated by repeated supination and pronation. The mechanism being compression-induced neuronal swelling. Histologically, there is a endoneural inflammation, edema, fibrosis, demyelination, and remyelination. There is a thickening of endo and perinuria. How do you assess the posterior interosseous nerve entrapment? Look for the caliber of the posterior interosseous nerve. See for the change of the caliber. Look for the caliber on the cross section by a circumferential trace technique. In anteroposterior diameter, look for the dimensions. Normally, there is a flattening of the nerve when it enters the supinator. That is why it is called the supinator syndrome. The best indicator as such is AP cross-sectional area. Abnormal nerve can be focally thickened just proximal to the compression, but there are no standard values. Always compare it with the normal side. Ultrasound findings, an umpty number of ultrasound findings are there. Not essentially you will find in all your patients. There are sometimes a swelling or thinning. There could be an abrupt caliber change. There could be an increase in the AP dia, that is around more than 0.15 centimeters. Loss of fascicular pattern, hyperemia because of the leash of Henry, secondary denervation changes in the extensors and the supinator muscle, loss of perineural fat plane, basically the fat plane which contains the nerve, posterior interosseous nerve is lost, swelling of the pin immediately distal to the exit from the supinator, which is very important. Compression externally could cause a decrease in the diameter of the interosseous nerve. These are the potential sites of the posterior interosseous nerve. There could be a entrapment at the arcade of Froese. There could be an entrapment at the level of the recurrent radial artery. There could be an entrapment at the medial border of the ECRB. Then the leash of Henry, which are the lateral branches of the recurrent radial artery, and of course the fibrous bands of the radial head. How do you diagnose posterior interosseous nerve syndrome? Electromyography, which localizes the point of neuropathy, is of utmost importance. It always establishes the electrophysiologic severity of the lesion. The only disadvantage being there is a lack of concrete spatial information about where exactly the compression is. How do you image posterior interosseous nerve? You should always image in two sections, one by the axial plane as well as the sagittal plane. Here I have tried to image it in the axial plane. Try to look for the radial nerve dividing under the brachyradialis into two, the superficial sensory and the deep motor branch, which is the posterior nerve, traveling entirely into the supinator, dividing it into two, then exiting the supinator here and trace it till the distal radius, that is where the distal radius, and try to find it out at the E4, that is the extensor compartment 4 level. Always try to look for the sagittal plane of the nerve. In the supinator, basically it gives a tubular structure here. That's a tubular structure, right? That tubular structure traverses the entire supinator and traverses it till the exit point of the nerve from the supinator, right? That's a tubular structure there. Try to look for the caliber changes, try to look for hyperemia and loss of fascicular changes. What are the clinical pearls? This is an important differential diagnosis in an inconclusive tennis elbow. There are no standard values for nerve thickening. Always look for the entry and exit points just before and after the entry and exit points also. There is no wrist drop as such when it comes to post-interosseous nerve syndrome. It's only a finger drop in comparison with your uh, radial nerve injury. How do you do the procedure? How do you do the hydrodissection of the post-interosseous nerve? Right? This is an in-plane needling into the fibrofatty plane, trying to hydrodissect with 5% dextrose here. This is an entrapment syndrome which is done with a hydrodissection here, right? Axial scanning of the common extensor tendon assumes importance. Try to understand that it forms an important differential diagnosis of tennis elbow. So try to examine the common extensor tendon by axial scanning. Look for that other tendons apart from the supinator here. You could see the Anconius, ECU, the extensor carpi ulnaris, EDM, the digiti minimi, then digitorum and the extensor carpi radialis brevis, all surrounding the supinator. Basically, try to see, visualize the nerve here, the fibrofatty plane, the supinator, and all the muscles surrounding. Try to rule out at it is a tennis elbow. Hope you enjoyed this video. Follow me on Facebook, Madan Pandian, and subscribe to Madan Pandian MSK Classics on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching.